The president just told me that a border wall does not work. If that's the case, why does his own Department of Homeland Security Secretary say in a public notice, quote, there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers?
Here's what I can say. I can speak to what the president was very clear in saying, and also what you all have been reporting about this construction. So the facts are this is not new. These funds were appropriated in fiscal year 2019 under Republican leadership, and DHS is required by law to use the funds for appropriated purpose. That's what we're seeing. This was announced back in June by the DHS. And so, look, we believe that there are better effective ways of moving forward to secure our border and security, our border security, and we have continuously asked for Congress to act, to provide our CBP, the law enforcement at the border, to give them the resources they need to do their jobs. And so we're going to continue to call on Congress. We believe, and the president has been very clear, even when you asked him, does a border wall work? He said no. And he's been very consistent about that. We believe that we need border technology that is modernized and land ports of entry, and that's what we want to see. And that's what I can speak to. And this is something that we were required by law, and we are complying. This is an administration that does believe in the rule of law.
But why now? For instance, these funds have been available since Biden took office. Why at this time?
And the president actually spoke to this, and this is one of the things that he was saying, that he's been asking Congress to reappropriate the funds. He has been. For the past couple of years, and Congress refused. And we have to comply by law to get this done. And that's what you're seeing happening right now.
Would there be a way to continue to slow walk this and to delay it?
We have to comply by law, and that's what we're doing at this time. We ask Congress to reappropriate the funds. That's what we would prefer to see, not waste the funding in the way that they're doing it right now, that we are required to do. But they refused, and so now we're moving forward.
Karine, what specific law will the administration be breaking if funds appropriated for the border wall are not used, especially because the funds go unused all the time? I mean, why not let it go unused this time?
Well, look, I'm not going to speak to the law. I would have to refer you to Department of Justice. I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that this is a law that we are complying with. We have asked Congress multiple times to reappropriate this. This is not the way that we believe is going to be effective here. We believe in modernizing the system, not actually building a wall. The president said himself he does not think this is effective, and so we're complying by law. And we believe that in the rule of law here, and we're moving forward and getting that, in following the law.
Is this the administration in some ways recognizing that using these funds at this moment will be useful in Texas?
We are complying by the law that says that we need to do this, and that's what DHS is asking for.
How is this consistent with what President Biden pledged to do when he was elected, which is that he will not use any funds to use the border law? What will you
let's make this really clear. The facts are that this is not new, right? This is something that came from the last administration under the Republican leadership in fiscal year 2019, and we are required to do this. We are required, DHS is required to comply by the law. That's what we're doing here. And look, the president, he said this himself. He basically asked Congress to reappropriate the funds. They wouldn't do it. And so now we have to comply by the law. Now, this was something that was announced 6 months ago. DHS actually announced this 6 months ago. And so this is not new. This is actually not new.
Does help with the situation in Texas?
We believe that a border wall is not effective. You heard that from the president when your colleague Selena asked him directly. He said we don't believe it's effective. We have asked Congress to actually help us, use these funds in smarter, more effective ways. That's what we've asked for. They refuse, but we're going to continue to ask for Congress, especially Republicans who are holding this back, to act.
If the border wall is ineffective, why is the Homeland Security Secretary saying that it's necessary to prevent unlawful entries into the United States?
I have not seen that full statement. I know. I hear you. I'm just saying I've not seen his full statement on that. What I can speak to is for the president. The president's been very clear that he doesn't believe it's effective. He answered that question of your colleague. That's what I can speak to. That's what we're going to talk about. And we've actually said there are smarter ways and more effective ways in dealing with this. And there are. And so the president said himself, he asked Congress to reappropriate this funds for something that is more effective, for ways to do this in a smarter way as it relates to border security measures. They refused. This was announced back in June, and now we're moving forward.
And he said in 2020 as a candidate, so after this law was passed in 2019, that there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. How can you say that he's not breaking that promise?
Well, what I can say is that there's a law that the DHS is complying with. We believe in the rule of law, and that's what we're moving forward with. This was decided, as you just said, in 2019. I believe there was a different president in 2019, right? That was a Republican president who actually pushed this forward. The Republican leadership pushed this forward. And so now we're complying by the law. Let's not forget, this was 6 months ago. This was out there 6 months ago. I know you guys are asking me about this now, but this was actually not new, and this was done 6 months ago. Okay.
Yeah, but to piggyback on that, Karine, I mean, there were a series of waivers put forth last night that expedite this process. And can you help us understand, essentially, is there a deadline in the law, or why is it that this has to be used up right now? Because you all have been not thus far using these funds. So to piggyback on Nandita's question, why not continue this slow walk this if philosophically you...
Because
do not believe it?
because the answer there is we've asked Congress over and over again. The president said this, to reappropriate the funds. They said no. We have to comply by the law. That's what DHS is doing. As you asked me about the environmental laws that we had to deal with, we have to comply by the law, and which requires, because we have to comply by the law, which requires the agencies to use these funds for their appropriated purpose. Now, CBP will conduct environmental and cultural resource surveys of this project, and so certainly I would refer you to DHS and CBP on the specifics of that, and also the law itself. What I can tell you is that we have to comply by the law, and that's what we're doing, and that's what DHS is doing. Again, this was announced back in June, and this is how we're moving forward. And you heard directly from the president. His stance on the border wall has not changed. He does not believe it is effective. He's been very clear about that.
So on President Biden's first day in office, January 20th, he posted a proclamation in the Federal Register where he halted all funding that was being redirected to build a border wall. And he also ended the national emergency on the southern border. Also, in the first paragraph of that proclamation, he asked for a careful review of all resources that have been appropriated to the southern border wall. What was the result of that careful review?
Don't have an update on the review, but happy to actually talk to the team, and we can work with you on getting the result of that review.
I mean, it's been 2.5 years. Was part of it
I totally
the decision
understand.
in June to restart construction on that
No,
section of the
I
border?
totally understand. You asked me for a review. I'm not going to make something up from here, so I have to figure out from the team what came out of that review. So don't have an answer on that review that you're asking about from the first day of the president's administration. But I will also add that first day the president put forth a comprehensive immigration reform, right, to perform the system, to fix a broken system that has been broken for decades. Every president has had to deal with the immigration system, a broken immigration system. I don't want to say every president, but the last few for sure, in the last 20 years. And so the president took that very seriously. He put forth a piece of legislation. It was his first piece of legislation, right? That's how seriously he took it. And then when Congress wouldn't act, he took action. He took action to make sure that we had CBP, more additional CBP, 24,000 CBP folks on the ground by the border. That's something that he did, make sure there was record funding. And he recently, back in August, as I just listed out moments ago, asked for more from Congress, and Republicans refused to act. Look, that is how seriously this president has taken it. Of course, there's always more work to be done. Since May, we have returned sent away or sent back more than 300,000 migrants who came here undocumented. And so that shows that our commitment to the border, and that shows a commitment in making sure that we try to work in a system that is broken.
Two questions on the border wall. Sure. First, just to clarify, the White House says that it's doing this only because it has to, no other reason, like a surge in border crossings or pressure from other Democratic leaders?
DHS was required to use these funds for their appropriated purposes to comply with the law. That's what they were required to do. And we're going to continue to call on Congress to take action, to work with us on dealing with border security, to make sure that we find smart ways and more effective ways to deal with the border. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're going to continue to work on. We've done that as recently as this past August. We've asked for $4 billion in supplemental funding to deal with the border. And we need Congress here. We need Congress to work with us on dealing with the issue that's happening at the border.
Why is the administration waiving laws to expedite construction if the border wall is ineffective?
I answered that question a couple times already. I'll answer it one more time for you. This is something that the DHS had to take a step forward in complying with the law. That's it.
Thank you, Karine. Thank you, Karine. As a candidate, President Biden didn't say there will not be another foot of wall constructed that except what was appropriated in 2019. He said there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. So something changed. What?
You want us to break the law? Is that what you want? You want us to not comply with the law?
I'm not.
But you want us to not comply with the law. You want us to not be in administrations that follow the
You
rule
guys
of
do
law.
this all the time. The student loan forgiveness program. You went to court to fight for that. If this is such a problem, building 20 miles of wall, why not just go to court?
We went to Congress. The Congress appropriates the funding.
Why not
Congress,
fight them more?
Congress appropriates the funding. We asked them to not use that funding for that particular purpose. They denied it, and now we're complying with the law.
If you have to build a border wall, but you don't think that it's going to work, then once it's done, are you just going to tear it down?
I'm not getting into hypotheticals from here. I'm just telling you what I can tell you from here. The facts are that DHS is complying with the law. This is from this was under fiscal year 2019 under Republican leadership, and DHS is required to do this. The president asked multiple times of Congress to reappropriate. They did not, and we're not complying by the law. Thanks, everybody.
It's anti-democratic.